I have to be the luckiest minister alive. Really, I mean, that was just amazing. Just amazing. So I'm going to start with some lyrics of Heather's right at the top. She said, right at the top, these are the first verse. There's someone deep inside who's calling me to be a radiance so bright my eye has yet to finally see the light within, between all that is and all that I am, free to be released, to walk the way, fulfill the plan. So I want to bring your attention to fulfill the plan. Do you have a plan for your life? As you sit here today, and I don't mean do you have plans for brunch. I mean, do you have a plan for your life? I love that you're sitting there going, yes, I do. So it's a good question. Think about that for a second. So do you have a plan for your life? Okay, what's your plan? What is your plan for your life? What is your global plan for your life? Do you plan to be happy? Do you plan to be healthy? Do you plan to experience all the good that there is to experience? I stand centered in my good. What's your plan? And I loved it. When I heard this lyric, I was like, oh my goodness, that's a great question. Do I have a plan for my life? Now, I have an AEP, an already established premise of life, which is that my life will unfold perfectly. But I could also have a plan that perfectly might have some problems with it. I could have a plan that my life will be exactly what it ends up being. Kind of nebulous, don't you think? What's my plan? Well, I plan to get up every day. See what happens. Okay, is that a plan? Yeah, that could be someone's plan for life. You may be sitting here with that plan. And it may not be grounded in, I plan to get up every day, see what happens, because I trust and know that everything's going to be amazing, and I'm going to be equal to everything that comes to me, and I'm going to be so immersed in all the good that is mine to have. Or you could just have, I'll get up and see what happens. Do you have a plan? How are you using your mind? Do you have an actual plan for how your life is going to play out? So, I stand between all that is and all that I am. I really want to talk a little bit about that today. I stand between all that is and all that I am. So I want you to think for a minute. How much of all that is going on in your life right now? Do you have a busy life? How many people have busy lives? How many people have a lot of stuff going on in their lives? What are the rest of you doing? Meditating. No, we all do. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. You know, I think I talked about it. My washing machine blew up and flooded my brand new renovated floors. And I know, right? Yeah, it was a fun day. And it was right after church, or not church. I got home from being with you, and I was like, it was right after teen camp. So I was a little tired. And I got home after our spiritual service, and I laid out in my gorgeous backyard under my 300-year-old oak tree, and all of a sudden, and I fall asleep, and I'm like, this day couldn't get better. I was right. Because the next moment, I'm laying there, and Will comes running out, Dad, the house is flooding. I was like, you're so dramatic. I said, Will, how is the house flooding? He said, you just did laundry, and the washing's overflowing. I said, I'm sure it's fine. I got about 5 steps into the house. I was like, not fine. And the water's still coming out. And I was like, well, did you turn it off? And he said, I don't know how to turn it off. And I said, I don't either. And so we're like, we've got every towel in the house sucking up all the water. And all of a sudden, Kevin comes in. And he's like, what is going on? I said, just grab a towel. The water's coming out of the washer. And he went, you need to turn it off. And then he said, Jim, did you just put wash in and walked away? I said, how often do you put wash in a washing machine and stand there and watch it? I said, don't tell me that. I said, I took a nap, which was appropriate. I would have heard the buzzer when it went off. So anyway, that was a number of weeks ago. Since that time, the next day, I thought we had dried it all up. I thought, good. Except that Will and Nora's bedrooms were flooded. Their rugs, which we knew we had to replace anyway. So the next morning we wake up and all our brand new floors were a little curved. And I was like, well, this isn't fun. And so we had to call Farmers Insurance, and they came in and they did their whole thing. And then there were jet propulsion fans all over our house, under the house. You know, we had to move out because you couldn't hear. Well, this has been a month, and it's been just going on and on and on. But in the end, I already had brand new hardwood floors, but Will and Nora's room now have hardwood floors. We pull out the rug. The whole place, just this morning, they put the final thing on it. And now we have 2 weeks of painting. And we moved out, but that's a lot of stuff, right, Joyce? Who just went through the same thing. And she told me weeks before about her journey, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine. The last time I just blow that off. So lots of stuff goes on. How do you stay balanced? How do you balance all that is with all I am? Now, in religious science, a lot of people use this teaching to blame themselves. And I can tell you, a number of people did say to me in a very loving way, so what was in your consciousness? And I said, I have no idea what was in my consciousness that caused a flood in my house. I'm more interested in what is in my consciousness that's going to turn this into a positive experience. And I will know that whatever that was in my consciousness that brought in a flood will never appear again in my consciousness. And I can just know that, right? So the question I have for you is, how do you balance all that stuff with who you are? Do you remember, and Jamie was exactly right, do you remember who you are when these things happen? Is that your first go-to? I can tell you it wasn't my first go-to that day. My first words out of my mind were not, I am God and this too shall pass. It wasn't. I will tell you some of the choice words, but we're having a spiritual service. So I stand between all that is and all that I am. That means I stand between the absolute, which is all that I am, and the relative, meaning the relative world of form. You do this every single day. Every single day when you open your eyes and get out of bed, you are balancing all that you are with all that you have to do. This young man is in law school, so that's a lot of work, right? Don't you have a lot of work? Way too much work. And yet not, because you're totally equal to it, right? But every day he has to wake up and balance everything he's going to have to do with who he is. Sometimes, way too often, we become all of this. And we forget this. We forget who we are. We are suddenly the catastrophes in our life. We are suddenly the washing machine blowing up. We are suddenly the show that's not produced the way we want it produced. We are suddenly all of these things out here as opposed to who we really are. So, balance, just so you know, balance is an experience. It's not really something, it's an experience. It's your experiencing life from a spiritual perspective. That's what balance really is. So when I ask, how's your balance going? What I really mean is, how are you relating to the experiences of your life? That's why I'm so grateful that Jamie was very transparent about what went on in his life this year. That's balancing it. So, how do you plan to experience life? This is really an important question. When I asked you, what's your plan for your life? Kelly, what's your plan for your life?
I already did it.
That it's over?
No. Writing books.
You're writing books. So what's your plan? Okay, but that's what you're doing. Thank you for answering it that way. I didn't ask anybody, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I said, what's your plan for your life?
Be happy.
To be happy. Is that a good plan? Yeah. To be happy. So what do you do when something comes along that doesn't make you happy? Hunt it down and kill it. No. What do? Most people do that mentally. It's like, I'm not happy. But if you've decided to be happy, then whatever comes forward, there has to be something in it. There really has to be something in it. Because I want to tell you, everything in our house had to get moved. Our new grand piano, everything had to get moved, all into the living room. And then I didn't want to move. I didn't want to stay somewhere else until I desperately had to. So I made Kevin put our mattress down in the middle of everything we owned, because it was in front of the television, and stay there for a few nights. Can I just tell you the magic that happened? Because that living room is all glass. Nick Williams has designed our backyard in such a way I didn't even experience it the way I've now experienced it until this happened. The oak tree that he lit is lit in a way it's never been lit in 20 years. And one night, all the lights were out. We laid down on the floor of the living room and looked up, and we were in heaven. Now, that washing machine exploding put us on that floor. And I was laying there. I did say to myself, I still wish it hadn't happened. But since it did, here's the good. And I turned to him and I said, doesn't it feel like we're actors back in New York laying on the floor of an apartment? He said, yeah, except this is a very expensive house. So what's the good? If you decide my plan is to be happy, you have to look at your life and say, this doesn't make me happy. I haven't slept in a year. I can't just continue this. If my plan's to be happy, how can I live things and experience things that don't make me happy? And that's just one answer. You know, what's your plan, Nora? What's your plan for your life?
To be happy.
Is everybody's plan to be happy? Because that works for me, right? Okay.
Do everything that I want to do.
Okay, because you said that to me yesterday. You said, I want to make sure that I do everything I've ever wanted to do, go everywhere I've ever wanted to go. I just want to live my life out loud and really big.
Yes.
That's the plan for her life. She's 19. And guess what? She grew up in this science. She actually believes that that's possible.
No, I know it's possible.
Love being corrected by my daughter. So she knows it's possible. Some of us didn't grow up with that belief, right? And some of us are still sitting here today holding on to core beliefs that stop us from our plan. Letting things that we still believe that no longer work for us stop us from doing what makes us happy. Stop us from being who we really are. So it's all about experience. So I want to read you this amazing quote by Rumi. He says this: your hand opens and closes, opens and closes. If it were always a fist or always stretched open, you would be paralyzed. Your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding, the two as beautifully balanced and coordinated as birds' wings. Back to your bird. So what he's saying here is, whether your life feels like it's contracting or whether your life feels like it's expanding, you are still balanced in the truth, because there's good in all of it. Sometimes we contract in order to expand. Sometimes we expand, and as we expand, we need to contract to get more. I love this Rumi quote because it reminds me to stop identifying things as bad and good. Stop living in this polarity. Stop living in this duality. What I do, it's not bad and good. Do I want to live this or do I want to live this? It's just a choice. I choose this. This just goes on its way. Balance is making sure both of your wings, both the contraction and the expansion, are in order, and you're able to fly steady through all of it. And here's the truth. Here's the great gift. This teaching gives you that opportunity. This teaching gives you the tools to know how to do that. So, your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding. Your deepest presence. So there is something in you that knows the plan for your life. There is something in you that is so solid, so clear on who you are, something in you that is not marred by any of your beliefs. Any of them, really. That's just the true, authentic you. And I don't care what age you are, it is time to step into that type of life, that living. To turn it over, to surrender to that thing in you that knows how amazing you are. I watched the Jane Fonda TED Talk, TEDx Talk. It's an 11-minute talk. It's amazing. Someone here sent it to me. And I watched it. And her concept of the third act of her life, brilliant. Just brilliant. You should all watch this TEDx talk, 11 minutes, Jane Fonda. Just put Jane Fonda TEDx. It's amazing. But she just talks about this staircase, this rising staircase. And she talks about how life, most people think life is like this. You grow, you grow, you grow, you peak, and then you kind of fizzle out till you die. And as she's explaining it, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound fun. And yet we buy it. We think we're going to fizzle out. It's funny, I was in Marshall's yesterday buying these pants, and I'm looking, I know, aren't they good? And I'm looking at all these clothes, and I'm noticing the age difference in the clothes. And I was like, and I was drawn to all these younger clothes, what would be considered, well, younger clothes. And I thought, it's so interesting. I think people walk into stores and go to the direction that they have been marketed to based on their age. Because I was watching someone my age looking through all of these really old clothes, like these dress pants with these button-down shirts. And I was like, well, maybe he's going somewhere formal. And I thought to myself, we get conditioned to believe that we are suddenly having to act a certain way because we are a certain age. But Jane Fonda, at the end of her tape, she's like, nope, life is a continual escalator. It just keeps going up and up and up and up. You get wiser, you get smarter. Why do we think the people as they get older get less valid? They get smarter, they get wiser, they get stronger. Why can't we stay as strong and as vibrant as ever? Why can't we be like Jack LaLanne, who at, what was he, 199, 101 or something? Died with an amazing body. Still strong, still powerful, still doing full workouts till the day he died. Why can't we? Well, the truth is, we can. So the title of my talk today is, To Be or Not to Be? Is that the question? So first I'm going to, Bonnie, come up here for a second, very quickly. First I'm going to let Bonnie, who is our Shakespearean scholar here, come up here. She's just going to read the little piece of that monologue.
Okay.
Please do it with feeling.
Yes.
And please, go ahead.
Is a balance.
It's a balance, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
That's
to
it.
die.
Oh, no, that was it.
No.
Say it one more time.
Okay. To be or not to be, that is the question.
Good.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
So whether it is nobler to suffer through life, or is it nobler to fight against them?
That's right.
And that's what I'm going to be talking about.
That's about it.
Bonnie Schneider. Okay, so, to be or not to be, is that the question? So I auditioned for Hamlet at Temple University when I was going to LaSalle College, and I didn't get the part. But not because I wasn't perfect for the part. I was. I actually was better than the guy who did it. But it was interesting. Here's what the director said to me after 10 auditions, where it was finally got down between me and this other guy, and when I didn't get it, I was heartbroken. And I said to him, I said, I don't get it. I said, I gave you everything. Everything. I mean, back then I argued with directors. I was like, you're wrong. And I was like, I gave you everything. I have everything needed for this part. And he went, but you don't. He said, you're just too happy. I said, but I'm an actor. He said, people act from their feelings, from what's happened so far. He said, not a lot has happened to you. This other guy, and he was right, this other guy's a mess. And I was like, I know, he's always depressed. He goes, and that's why we're casting him. He said, he's just as good an actor as you, but he has more to pull from. And I was like, wow, well, I can go be depressed. And then I got depressed from not getting the part. So I didn't get the part, but I've always loved that part. Now I'm too old to, am I? Yeah, yes, I am, unless they do it like at some senior center. But Hamlet should be young. So, to be or not to be, so it's a decision. So here's the thing, to be or not to be, is that the question? Well, that question is really about life and death, too, for Hamlet. Do I live, don't I live? I had a wonderful meeting with Brad Blaisdell yesterday, who has moved out of UCLA Medical Center, is way past any possibility of leaving this planet. He has totally pulled himself up by his bootstraps. So yesterday, and he's in a center where they're helping to rehab his body. It's been through a lot. And I was sitting with him last night, and I said, so what happened? I said, what really happened? And I know a lot of what happened. And he said, so simply, he said, I decided to live. That was it. He said, I decided to live. I said, that's it, that's all. He goes, yeah, I made the decision. I know you're watching, because I know Lacey went over to show him, to be with him, so he's watching us right now. Thank you for that decision. Either decision was fine, by the way. If we're done, we're done. But he decided to live. Okay, so he made a decision, and his body followed. His body started to change. And he told me yesterday, he said, they've just told me that all of my organs have just like reinvented themselves inside of me. I said, yeah, this is like Anita Marjani all over again. You decided, no, the answer is yes, and now your body's going, okay, let's figure this out. That's how powerful your mind is. That's how powerful my mind is. So, I want to talk for a moment very quickly about achieving and expressing. Because the difference between life and death is achieving and expressing. How many people here would consider themselves great achievers? Okay, good. So, I do too. But one thing I have learned, this whole idea of to be or not to be, surrendering to something bigger than myself. We are so caught up in achieving. We are trying so desperately to achieve so much before we die. We have to write this book, that book. We have to get this. We have to succeed at this. I need this much money. I need more money. I have a relative who has tons of money in the bank and lives like such a pauper because she wants to make sure that when she dies, there will be so much money for people to get and her life will have meant something. And I said, do you not understand? You're miserable. You act like you can't do anything. And I can't get through to her, no matter how I try. Because it's all about the achievement. That's the important thing. But I know this. In terms of balancing what I want to achieve with who I am, with all that is in who I am, it is paramount for me to express, not achieve. It is important for me to know that if I just allow what is mine to express to come up, if I just let that in me that knows, just like your song says, to let that thing in me that has a plan itself through me, and I express what's mine to express, like my daughter said, that I just do what's mine to do, no stone unturned, I just let it out, I will achieve. Achievement's a given. But when I aim at the achievement, I've lost my balance. Do y'all get that? When I'm out here trying to make sense out of it, trying to make it happen, I lose balance. Things can trip me up. When I want this so bad and it's not happening, I can lose my balance. That's the balance I want us to think about. Danielle Orner, who is a cancer survivor, an amputee, she had this quote, and she said, life took my leg, not my spirit. And not at any time did it trip her up. And she says this, life is a balance between what we can control and what we cannot control. I am learning to live between effort and surrender. I am learning to live between effort and surrender. So I would like to offer up to you this idea of a plan, right? I would like to offer up to you that maybe perhaps our plan should be an effortless life, where I don't have to work hard at making anything happen. I just have to allow life to live through me. And I think if we can really get in that plan and really give ourselves the opportunity to balance our lives between all that is and all that I am, with the emphasis on all that I am, and recognize and realize it's not about how much can I accomplish before I die. It's how much can I live before I die. How happy can I become? How joyful can I become? How self-realized can I become? Achievement, success, those are the gifts of that. So that's the balance I want us to also look at this month. how you balance your conscious mind between what you're trying to achieve and who you are as an expression of the divine. I guarantee you lean deeply into expressing who you truly are, you will achieve everything that there is possible to achieve. Namaste. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.